Hello everyone, uh, welcome to a new channel NABARD Grade A interview purpose. Uh, in this video, we are going to discuss about the probable causes of the agrarian crisis. So, for preparation of the NABARD Grade A interview, the agriculture and rural development sectors are very important, and particularly in the agriculture there are several reasons which are responsible for the agriculture distress and farmer suicide in India and particularly in the Maharashtra. So if the interviewer asks you uh, what are the probable reasons for the agriculture distress, then at the time there are the four main reasons. So we will see those four reasons. Okay, so let's start first by understanding the probable reasons. So, agrarian distress in the Maharashtra are caused by the several structural factors. Structural factors means there are several reasons which are responsible for the structure of an overall economy. Like for example, uh, the credit related cycle. There is a rainfall related pattern. Uh, then there are several mechanization related or yield gap related reasons. Then there are several supply chain related deficiencies are there. There's weak forward linkages, poor backward linkages are there. So let's start one by one. The first one is low or erratic rainfall pattern. That means low or erratic rainfall pattern in the rain-fed dominated agriculture in Maharashtra. So rain-fed agriculture, that means the agricultural system or the farming is highly dependent on the rainfall and there is no availability of the irrigation facility. So even if you see in the Maharashtra, as per 2011 report, only 17% of the 17% of the land holding is net irrigated, comes under net irrigated area in Maharashtra. So remaining is rain fed, and being the rain fed, there is low and erratic rainfall pattern which further strains the farmer's ability to do farming because rainfall is erratic as well as rainfall is low. Okay, further climate vulnerability, that means because of the climate change and particularly El Nino and La Nino, further enhancing the intensity of the farmers distress. So the climate shocks further accelerate the farmers distress. uh, for example, in the recent time, there is an unseasonal rain, or in Maharashtra, we call it Avkali Paus, in the Nasik or in the Latur. So, the crop losses are very severe because of such an unseasonal rainfall, or it is a impact of climate change. So, first reason is all about the water. So, low and erratic rainfall is the first reason. Second is about indebtedness and the credit stress. Indebtedness and the credit stress. Indebtedness of the farmers, actually this is the primary reason behind the large scale farmer suicide which are occurring in the Vidarbha and the Marathwada region of the, especially in the Marathwada region of Maharashtra. The crop failure and price fluctuations. There is a crop failure because of the low and erratic rainfall pattern. There is climate change and the climate vulnerability is there. There is an increase in intensity of the extreme weather events and price fluctuations. Due to this, such a changes in the supply and the demand creates an inability to repay the loans. So, hence, farmers traps in the vicious cycle of poverty, vicious cycle of debt because of these combination factors. Uh, even though there is a even though the credit through the institutional sources has expanded, especially due to the banking and the finances, still there is a huge proportion of the farmers who are still dependent on the informal sources of the credit because of its unstructured but ease of getting the credit. They are dependent on it. Further, there are several lazy farmers or sharecroppers or the landless farmers who still dependent on the informal sources. So both farmers are directly linked to a farmer society, especially in the Marathwada region of Maharashtra. Third factor, uh, there is a weak forward linkages to the market, and the problem is not about production, it's about value realization. So even though the production is very high, but still farmers are not getting the enough value for their produce. Like recently, you might have seen the onion or the potato farmer or the milk producer, even the milk producer, they are not getting the enough prices. There are several intermediaries are present between a producer and between a consumer. So the price get fluctuated between the number of intermediaries becomes on a higher side. So the weak forward linkages. What do you mean by forward linkages? Suppose this is the farmland. These are the backward linkages and these are the forward linkages. That means for the cultivation of the crops, whatever the processes which required before it are the backward linkages, and once the produce becomes mature, then the post processing all the activities till it reaches to the consumer, which also includes the branding and marketing activities. These are the forward linkages, or it is also called as post supply linkages. Post supply linkages. Okay. uh, so so uh, Despite high production, farmer faces price volatility. You can see in the onion and also in the different other crops, and there is a distress sale of the tomatoes. Why there is a distress sale? Because of the perishability of the produce, and market is not enough. The market prices are not enough to cover even the uh, production cost, and there is lack of cold storage facilities. Price volatility is because of the sudden changes in the supply and the demand, so it leads to low income despite the higher output. And fourth, and the major most important, I think, even in the today's agriculture, there is a dual yield gap. It exists. So despite a very strong research and technological innovation going on in the various ICAR laboratories, where Krishan Vigyan Kendras, etc., there is a dual yield gap exists. So first, you might have heard about a lab to land gap. So, whatever the research or innovation taking place in the lab are not transferred into the land. But what do you mean by dual yield gap? Even for example, from the from the lab to land, there are several innovation are getting transferred or are getting extended to a land. But even within the land, there are big farmers and there are small and marginal farmers. So even if the large gap is also exist between the big farmers and smaller marginal farmers, which resulted in weak extension services, poor last mile delivery of the innovation, and this leads to a low mechanization, low technological innovation, poor productivity, and further accentuates the income debt trap by due to the reduced income from the farming. And the fifth and the most important, I think, this is due to the social as well as the various economical reasons. Dominance of small and marginal land holdings makes the farmer structurally vulnerable to the prices and the climate shocks. So aggregation of the farmers or collectivization of the farmers through a formal and registered institutional setup is very much essential. And for this purpose, farmer producer organization or the contract farming or the cooperative farming, so such models are very important to make the farming uh, profitable and as well as double the income of the farmers as envisioned by the government of India. So these are the five structural problems which are exist in the agriculture and particularly in the Maharashtra. So to enhance the productivity and resilience of the farmers, we must shift or we must integrate ecology, economy, and the policy setup in an integrated manner. Okay, thank you.